Hello and welcome to Room Escape Divas, your podcast on everything escape rooms. We are back with another designer spotlight, and this week we are talking to Nathan Glover of Agent November. Woo! Yay!
Hello,
Yay.
Nathan. Thank you so much
Hello.
for joining us. This is like super last minute. It
Yeah.
was, in fact, Nathan was one of the very first people to ask me about an interview, and we had a lot of them all lined up. And so finally, when I was talking to him, because there's something running, and we'll talk about that later, I was like, oh, right, you wanted an interview. I am the last. The problem with interviews and talking is that Man Pans is the one that does all the scheduling. And I am a fish brain, so I forget everything.
And I'm in
That's
I'm
my
in I'm
problem.
in school right now, so I've been fairly lax on answering emails and that. So
Oh,
if
I
you're waiting on an
know.
email,
We have a number of emails unanswered, and so I
not
feel
number
bad.
one, just
I
one.
think I think that's why I went with Facebook. It's just quicker sometimes.
Yeah,
So
but
you said you're in school. What are you studying?
I am studying forensic accounting and fraud prevention. So,
Soon to
hooray.
be a new podcast.
To be, now I'm going to meld the two together and somehow make an escape room of all of this. So, I'm
The-
going to make
the- I mean, you can definitely make a forensic accounting escape room. But just like in Jurassic Park, you might find you spent so long wondering if you could make it that you never asked if you should make it.
You should, Man
That's
Pans.
it will be the most exciting, exhilarating escape experience
it,
ever.
it, I'm sure it will be the best forensic accounting escape room ever made.
I
How
mean, they
long would it take to make a pivot table? Those things take me forever to
I
make.
mean, they made a movie out of it with Matt David, so might as well be able to make an escape room out of it. There you go.
If you get Matt Damon attached, then you're laughing. So
Hey, there you
that'd be my
go.
tip. Do that first, and then call me once you've done step one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we go on and further talk about spreadsheets, maybe we should ask you about yourself and Agent November. So if you'd like to, give a little short intro, that'd be amazing.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nathan. I'm terrible at spreadsheets, but as a hobby maybe. So I my name's Nathan, but I'm also go by Agent November. It's confusing because it's the company, but also the character. Um, and I set up Agent November about 6 years ago. It was one of the first escape game type companies to open in the UK, probably about fifth or sixth, maybe. Of course, there's loads now. Um, but we, from the start, did pop-up escape rooms, or escape games, I should say. So we've never had a permanent full-time room. We've done a couple of things where we've set up a pop-up room and then dismantled the room or whatever. But it's mainly been pop-up events, outdoors, indoors, people's houses, people's offices, public parks, things like that. Alongside that, we've done a few bespoke builds. So we did an event in the House of Parliament that was about 2 years ago, and done the odd bit of fringe work. So we went up the Edinburgh Fringe for 3 years. Sadly, we've missed it this year, which was, for me personally, that's probably the biggest social casualty of
Oh
COVID.
yeah, Fringe. I've always wanted to go to Edinburgh Fringe, and
So
yeah.
you
You
do an
should.
escape room for Fringe? An escape pop-up room?
Yeah. So it's
Cool.
it's the same one that we run in London, with a slightly reduced timescale, so I can fit this fringe program. And we just pack it all up, chuck it in a van, and off to the fringe. Because all my escape rooms, or games, I should say, escape games, be designed to, you can fit them into basically two suitcases is the plan. So then one person can carry them somewhere. And we've run those in Edinburgh Fringe for the last 3 years. And yeah, Fringe is so much fun,
Yeah.
because there's just everything going on. Like the population of Edinburgh like triples, and you can't get a hotel room, so you'll sleep on someone's floor, and it's just madness
Or
the whole
in
time.
or in your suitcase, depending on how that
Now,
goes.
Oh yeah.
I'm only very familiar with Fringe here where I am, and it's probably run differently. I'm not like a theater person as much as Man Pan, so I don't know. Here, it's a
Can
lottery to even get into the Fringe. How is it over there?
So the Edinburgh Fringe, it's I've done that, and I've done a few other smaller fringes as well. And the Edinburgh Fringe is different from every other fringe just in terms of the scale, because it is a full-time thing every day for the month. a lot of other fringes. You might be in town, you wouldn't even realize it was going on, like the Brighton Fringe or the Adelaide Fringe. You wouldn't necessarily know what's happening.
Yeah.
And people would very rarely go for the fringe to a particular,
compared to Edinburgh, Toronto's fringe is basically like a small town compared to that. Like Edinburgh's fringe is more like the big city fringe type of thing, where it's like, it just takes over.
It's its own ecosystem. It has so much, you can't be there and not know what's going on. The whole city is different to the rest of the year, in all kinds of weird and wonderful ways. So it's really special. And you say about theatre, a lot of people will go to the fringe and just see comedy, for example, because that seems to be about half the fringe. And then there's random immersive things like mine, or just weird and wonderful things that pop up. Obviously loads of theatre as well, but it's you could take almost anything to the fringe, and that's what's great about it.
Yeah.
And then how do people find you? I mean, our fringe, it just seems to be you wander about and hopefully run into something you like.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when we went up to Edinburgh for the first time, we'd already been running our games in London for about 3 years. So we had a bit of awareness there. And I think a few people came up based on that or had heard about us. And then otherwise, it's just a lot of flyering. So you just pound the pavements and give out flyers. That's. I mean, I wish I knew why people came.
Errol also speaks as someone who doesn't go to the fringe a lot.
No.
And so, but for like I've been in fringe for I was in a fringe for a couple of years. I've always liked to go to fringe, and it's basically just you either go with an agenda, you have all sorts of friends shows to see. There's always a guide to show you what types you might want to see, like whether it's a kids show or a drama or comedy or whatever. And then otherwise, you sit in the bar fringe tent area and let people fly past with their poster or with their cards and flyers and stuff to try and convince you to come see their show. So it's madness. So Nathan, you mentioned, so you were one of the first escape rooms in the UK, as you mentioned. What inspired you to create an escape room for yourself? Did you play one first, or did you hear about them and want to try it out for yourself?
Yeah, no, it was playing one. I think basically the first escape room that opened in London, and my cousin said, "I just played this cool thing. You should come and play it." And poorly explained it as you do when you've just played escape room for the first time. And then 2 weeks later, she emailed and said, "No, you don't to work there. You need to play the game. You should go and work there. They're hiring." So I worked for them for a couple of months, and I could see this was just such a cool trend in terms of business, because I was trying to set up my own business anyway. Wasn't sure what that business was going to be. But secondly, I just thought, I can make one of these. I want to make, I want to have that, give that feeling of accomplishment and being challenged. So the rest is history.
And what was your pre-escape room life before? Like, what did you do before opening up your own escape room?
Well, the business I was trying to start up was a tour guiding business, because I was a tour guide and still am actually in my just part-time. Been in that for about 10 years now. I've been tour guiding around London, and I absolutely love that job. So that was the plan, was to start a tour guiding business, but I just kind of changed tack when I saw this cool new thing and did that instead. Before those, 10 years ago, I'm going back to when I was in the army for about 2 years, was terrible at that. I'm very thankful that's over. And that puts me back in university after that, I think. So, that's quite quick condensing a life, it turns out. There you go.
Wow, fantastic.
So hopefully you pass Agent November during your tours and just say, "Oh, this is a really good place to go."
Sadly, well, A, we don't have a physical room to point out, so that's tricky. But also B, the only tour guiding I do now is in the Houses of Parliament. So I was actually in there although we haven't got any visitors, of course, because of lockdown. But that's a whole other story. But yes, I did used to do walking tours around London. That was great fun. And I think, again, that gave me a fantastic set of transferable skills to do this, because it's a presentation and you're putting your character into something. And actually, I think every single game I've made, it's been an absolute mix of escape rooms and immersive theatre. And so I mostly use professional actors, and that's their primary experience for my game. But again, sometimes we have people who are actors, but also comedians, or actors, but also tour guides. And I think that those transferable skills, it's not so relevant whether you're an actor or a tour guide or a comedian. You understand you've got to get the audience somewhere and give them that elevated experience. So I'm really glad I had the tour guiding experience, because again, even logistically, it's fantastic for organizing, getting a group out, taking them through some puzzles, getting them from A to B, literally physically sometimes, but also mentally getting them through. So it's that same process, just in a slightly different format.
Awesome. And yeah, you mentioned like comedians and stuff. One of the things that stuck out to me when I played your online version of Agent November was your use of comedy in the room. And it's something that I don't actually see a whole lot of in escape rooms. I'm seeing it more now with the online versions, actually. Now that there's more avatars, I see them using humor quite a bit more. But before that, but yours is the one that uses it most consistently. Was comedy always the tone you wanted to go with Agent November?
I mean, absolutely not. That's completely an accident. I had this image when I started the company of like a real noir feel. So I've got the classic waistcoat and trilby, and it's going to be like a really dark kind of intrigue as you pick apart these layers. And I've got this whole story going on, which now spans 4 escape games with a prequel and a sequel. We plan to add that. So it's a 6-game epic where you pick apart a conspiracy and go in the shadowy underworld. And that was all there. And as I write it, my camp wacky nature just creeps in and infects it. And I get the reviews back, and people, my actors I'm working with, or whoever's reviewing it, say, yeah, we love the silly wackiness. I thought, okay, fine. And I'm just a clown with pretensions of doing something poetic. But hey,
your creation ran away from you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It wasn't the intention, but you take what you get, I guess. Yeah.
So there are a number of, you have a whole series in plan. How many do you have now? So you have the first one that's called.
Just to pick you up there, you said that it's the Agent November game. The game is called Virtual Escaper.
Right.
So that's the virtual one. You can see a little bit of it in the background here, because we're in the
spoiler.
Yeah, well, yes, it has. It has wood. It has wood. The mirror. Gosh, I've given everything away.
Wait, there's a mirror?
And a white ceiling. Well, that's.
Oh, I don't remember the mirror.
You might as well not play now. I've given it all away. Yes, a bit of a tangent. I've been living in an escape room for most of this year, so it's been quite a weird one. When you work from home in an escape room, you use handcuffs and stuff just lying around everywhere. It's the new normal for me. What were we saying though? Yeah, the game that is online is called Virtual Escaper, and that is the only one that's online, and it was specifically made for online play. And the reason we didn't convert, or haven't converted the other ones yet, is me and my producers, we thought that that lockdown was going to be quite short to begin with, maybe only a few months, and B, we were worried that if you get one person video a playthrough of your game and then stick it online, there's only so much you can do to legally redress that, and it could just ruin. Get some of these games we've spent literally those 6 years. Those games have been around, and we've just crafted and iterated them, and it would be horrible to lose that just over what we thought would be a couple of months lockdown. So we made this game from scratch, and I'm really glad we did, because there are some things in it, if you've played it, you'll know that I think that some things in it only really work in this format, or only work really well in the format. And so I personally love running these because I get to be really involved in it, and the fact that it's all first person view, you can do so much with that in terms of clue giving, or bits of comedy in terms of where you look and how you look and what you do with your hands. Like I went over to a clock at one point, and the great thing is you get to be so reactive, because this next little thing has only happened once. But I went over to the clock and I was looking at it, and some of the players said, "Oh, can you move the hands?" And so just in time, I went, "Oh, excuse me, that's." Is
that your phone going to sleep mode?
Still having technical difficulties. Let me get that.
It's like it's a cliffhanger.
Yes.
We might have gotten it.
So they say, go over the clock. Can you move the hands? And so I said, yeah, sure.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah, it's just silly stuff like that where they're like, okay, yep, he got us, yep, fine, yep, good job, move the hands. So
there's a lot you can do when you're in control of the camera and you're in control of the movements, right? Suddenly,
yeah,
all of those rules about moving objects go out the window.
well, that's how I get my kicks is trolling people when they ask me to do perfectly reasonable stuff in an escape room. But then you control them when they ask you to do unreasonable stuff. And yeah, it's so, as an escape room owner, it's so nice when someone says, "Oh, break that window," and you go, "Yeah, sure." Oh,
yeah.
No, too strong. Oh, and everyone else in the group will laugh at them and be like, "Yeah, he's not going to smash his place up, is he?" But it's great because they can never break my stuff. They can never put in a number wrong because I know my padlock. It all flows really nicely like that. But then now I've done hundreds and hundreds of these, I've got it down to the point where I don't feel like I ever give, or very rarely give, clues per se, because I always know I can just adjust the camera angle and it'll put something in the background that they don't even realize they're now seeing, and that'll get them to that. So there's so many little things you can do like that.
It's
Which
almost
is
like
really important for escape rooms that has searching in it, right? Because you can't see things very well, and then so if an experience, we've had this before, an experienced game master would just like whoosh, and then you just don't know what to do because you can't see anything, and they don't know that, oh, it's just blurry here, we can't see it.
I think I went into making this escape room with a few principles in mind, which was I said I'll troll the customers, but if I do something trolly, like they ask me to do one thing, I do another, I will then immediately do the thing they ask me. I won't spend a long period of their time doing that thing because that's because you lose control of the game then. And what I think one of the things that people love about regular escape rooms is the feeling of control and the feeling of accomplishment. So I don't want to take that away from people. So if people ask me to do something, I will always do it, or attempt to do it as best I can. The other thing is, another principle is the reverse, which is that as far as possible is I don't do things that people don't ask me to do. Now there's a bit of leeway there because you've got to interpret what they say. When they say, check that out. Okay, do I look at it? Do I pick it up? Do I turn it around? So you use a little bit of interpretation there, but I built into those two is I act like I'm part of their team, so that they are trying to help me to escape from the room. So I will be helpful, but I also act like I've just been hit on the head and I'm a little bit drowsy. So I'm not really good with initiative. So
which is a great little narrative excuse for why you might fumble with something. You got bonked on the head, so you're not all there.
We haven't mentioned this on the podcast. There was the best part of trolling ever for Poor Man Pants.
Why? What?
This is when I was vague and I would say thingy bang.
Oh yeah. It's not for your room, it was for another room. So Errol has this tendency to not say what an object actually is. So we were going through this room and Errol would just yell at our avatar, like, look at the thingy bing. And the guy would go like right up to it and somehow know what he was talking about.
They spoke my language. The Flurpy world. The Flurpy
world. And it was like, it began with an F. So I guess that like the object began with an F. So, and he's doing this for like the entire room. And then he gets this object.
And the game host is like picking up everything I'm saying perfectly. Yeah. It was amazing.
and then suddenly we get to a part where like he picks up an object and we have to like insert it into some sort of box like thing. So I went, and I didn't word it correctly, but I was like, oh, can you put that in the box? And he just goes over to a random box and just drops it, like purposely trolling us. And then I was just like, come on, you can say thingy bing for 50 minutes. I say like put something in a box and then you decide to like be a jerk about it. And I was so bad. I was like,
oh, it was great.
It's nice to know that you don't hold a grudge and you can move on from these things. That's good.
Oh yeah, totally. That's me, the non-grudge holder. So yeah, I was gonna say earlier when you were mentioning like pretending like you're part of their team essentially, and the way that you move the camera, that you don't actually have to say a clue, you can kind of have the camera linger on something. That's almost like video game like signposting in a way when a video game will just purposely like turn you somewhere to be like, look, maybe you should go there next, to the very well lit obvious area in focus.
Or paint yellow lines where you can jump on.
And I have been seeing, more virtual escape rooms do that now. They won't necessarily tell us where to look. They'll just kind of hover the camera somewhere, hoping that we'll notice.
Yeah, I think that's the joy of. Oh, excuse me. I think that's the joy of my company, is that we've always been a pop-up. And so that's always made us very able to react to new things that happen, new opportunities. So like when it came up that we could go to the Edinburgh Fringe, or when we got asked to do bespoke projects for clients, we can turn these around in really quite short time frames. I mean, we made this online escape room in under a month, I would say. So it was ready by about mid-April, whereas we locked down in mid-March, and we were ready early to mid-April. And I'm really glad, like I said, that we made this from scratch, because I think we used the idea of it being a first-person game and making that a feature rather than a constraint. And I think that felt better than just taking our regular games and filming them and kind of trying to replicate everything one for one, because you can't, because there are things that work best about one medium and the other. I guess it's really like films, like movies. There are so many movies where people always say, but the book's better, you know, and
right.
and some where they'll say the film is better, because the beauty is that there are things in one medium which works in the other, and vice versa. And so you shouldn't get tied down to the dogma of a pre-established format. And so doing it this way, we didn't, because we went into it knowing we're building it from scratch. Now, interestingly, we are going to be hitting this problem next year, because I said that we've got this one online game. We've got another online game which is coming out in 2 weeks, although I've been saying that for 3 months, so don't believe me when I say that. And then so far that's planned to just be an online room. But we've got 3 real life games, which I say run for about 6 years. And next year we are going to be converting those into online games. And we're very much thinking about doing a Kickstarter, or a crowdfunder rather. So please do follow us on Agent November if you want to hear more about that. And we'll have a really exciting Kickstarter or crowdfunder to convert our IRL games into online games. And then by that point, we will have 5 games in this same series all online, with a 6th also probably going to be part of that crowdfunder. And the 6th game is what I'm really excited about, because that's going to be the boss battle game, where people will take on my nemesis, who they've been seeing indirectly all throughout the other 5 games. And you've been dealing with his minions and trying to get an edge, and you get a setback, and it all comes to a head in this final game. And he will either put his plan into action and win, or the team will get to bring him to justice. And I'm just incredibly excited to see how it's going to turn out, because I've had that idea for about 4 years to tie them all into that ending, and I still haven't got around to making that. So I say to people jokingly at the end of my debrief, I'll get him one day. I've been working on this case for 6 years now, but I still haven't got a break. It almost feels a little bit meta, like I'm just this downtrodden detective that's, I've now dealt with a bomb threat, a murder mystery, trying to get some stolen goods back. I've been kidnapped. I'm about to try and hack into someone's mind, and I'm hoping I'm finally going to take down the big boss, who I've never seen. I've only ever, he's always one step ahead of me. So it's great fun building that together. Actually, I mentioned there the new game is going to be coming out in 2 weeks, definitely. 2 weeks from now, for sure. Ignore those other times I said that. That was wrong. The new game's called Mind Heist. Ooh. And that's going to be a whole load of fun. We've got a large chunk of that completed, and it boils down to trying to manipulate one of the bad guys into giving up secrets about the big boss. And there's going to be an element of kind of choose your own adventure in that, in terms of what you get them to do and what choices you make, and that will have consequences for later on in the game. So yeah, there's a whole lot going on there. I think the reason it's taking so long to get that out is we're just very ambitious with it, because we've had such good praise for this room. We really want to avoid that difficult second album. For us, it's the 5th escape room, but for a lot of people online, they've only played our Virtual Escaper, it's the second one. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I tell you what, this would be embarrassing if I relied on broadcasting events over Zoom. That would be a sad lookout for me.
Yeah, we haven't asked anybody about tech failures during games yet, but
yeah, I think that's the first tip. Is if you ever have a tech failure, the first thing you got to say to your players is your time stopped. Don't worry, because that's the first thing that they will think about. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, "Oh, cool, we get some more thinking time. Great, this is good. Yeah. Let's try and work out everything we can." So when you come back online, they'll have like a 10-point plan for you to rattle through because they've sussed out the room by then. I was going to say, we've not had that many problems with tech, and then I realized that I'm looking at my laptop, which has got a hinge is snapped in half, and the fan. The reason it's off is the fan is rickety and makes all kinds of noise because I dropped it when I was playing a game because I used my phone, but that ran out of power. And the only backup I had was to grab my laptop and then go around with that and use the camera on that. And I got all the way through the game and I turned the camera off and I was going to go over to the debrief and I was just still rushing and I managed to drop my camera on the floor at the last second of the game. The last chance I could have done that. And yes, so long story short, tech issues do happen. But like I say, as long as you pause the time, you've that's half the battle, and then then you go sort the rest of it.
Actually, I was going to ask a couple of other things. Like you mentioned that you are the game host normally. Do you have anyone else game host, or is it pretty much your character? So it's going to be you, which is a lot of work for you.
Oh yeah, it has been. And that funny timing. We've just last week I got my second host up online.
Nice.
And we will have the third person up online next Tuesday. I think they're scheduled to go online. So yeah, I've now got other hosts to help me run. They're doing that in their respective homes.
Nice.
They used to both work in London with me, and then in the space of a week, they moved to Edinburgh and Brighton, so complete opposite ends of the country to each other. But they're now, so we wouldn't be seeing each other anyway, so we see each other over Zoom a lot anyway. And
so they're running it out of their respective homes, so they had to set up an Agent November set in their own home. That's fun.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm such a good boss. I send out handcuffs in the mail to all my employees.
That's kind of interesting, trying to find other people to work for you. It's like, okay, you can work for us, but you have to set up this escape room in your home.
I hope your spouses and /or roommates are okay with that.
Now, I remember there are things on the outside as well as the inside, so that will be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky that there are a few people who I've worked with for a long time now, and we get on very well. We get each other, so I can kind of ask them those odd questions that would be difficult to approach on like a normal job interview meeting. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky, I should say. I've got a really good team who are incredibly creative. Like I say, they all come from an acting background, and I sometimes say that I'm when I'm recruiting people, it's difficult because I'm the only person in the company that isn't an actor. I pretend to be an actor, which I guess kind of is acting in a way. So yeah, maybe I am a professional actor. There you go.
Well, you're getting paid for it, right? So that kind of like makes
you professional. Yeah.
Yeah, but by that definition of the word, yes, I'm technically a professional actor. Anyway, so they bring that acting, that theatrical background, and I should say that we've been talking as if I've designed these games myself, perhaps, but that's far from the truth. I've been the lead designer in all of them, but Virtual Escaper especially had a guy called Alan, who is the other person who's now running one of the games. He's up in Edinburgh, and he designed a massive chunk of this. We designed it hand in hand, this Virtual Escaper, and I would say he was more involved in it than other people have been in my previous games, although he helped out on other ones in the past as well. But especially on this one, I feel like some of the best puzzles that we made were when we worked together and when we would pass it back and forth, and what someone I know used to call snowballing. So it gets bigger and better every time. And it's I love playing through those ones now, because as people solve something, it's almost like every email that was sent back and forth, I can see where they've hit that stage, and it creates a lovely layered effect, almost like that. So that's really nice.
Cool.
I'm still interested about them running it from their own home. That's like really cool. Do they have to do construction work, or is it?
We've had to work around that, because I could do a bit more with my space, because it's my business, and so you have to kind of do crazy. You do mad stuff when you run a business, stuff you never thought you would. So I have the latitude to build weird stuff in my room and all that kind of thing. But they've made a version of that work in their space that fits the space available to them, and keeps the essence of the game going. And again, the beauty of it is they're professional actors, and they're used to, in escape rooms that we run, normally just improvising and making it work as part of the thing. You know, we normally run these in parks, and everybody's dressed in trilbies running around, and so we have to, when something odd happens, we have to explain that away as some kind of in-universe explanation of, oh no, that was just I think that was an enemy spy, we should keep an eye on them, that kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know any other company that does that. I wonder if that could be like a new thing, just like have different franchises just running your game at your house. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You could like expand and have more people play your game. Sorry, I just find that fascinating. That's kind of neat.
Yeah,
Charles off in his own little world now with all the possibility. With Virtual Escaper, you had to move on to online, and you mentioned you designed it from scratch, and we've mentioned the camera things. Did your puzzle design differ at all when you were designing for an online format, or did it most largely stay the same as when you were doing a brick and mortar escape design?
I think that the short answer is no. It was basically the same. The only thing that changed is some of the implementation was slightly different, but the same ideas and all the same principles went into it. Mm-hmm. So by the implementation, mainly I mean the searching. So in my room, if you had a team of 5 people, you would find everything in a few minutes. Whereas it takes, the initial sweep around the room can take 15 minutes when I do it, because people are solving puzzles along the way, but also they'll be finding stuff and finding more stuff because I'm in control, and because of just the nature of how the searching works online. But
we're aware. We are so aware, because other escape rooms don't take that into consideration. They don't.
Well, this is part of why I was saying that I didn't just want to port an escape room straight online, because those same things don't work the same. But like I said, the principle does work. You should spend, I think, about 5 minutes getting to know a new room and finding the obvious and medium to obvious stuff in a room, and then maybe 10 minutes later you'll still be finding the odd item. That's a principle that works online or offline, but you just need to set up a different way to achieve that. And similarly, when you say, like, do we have to design it differently? No, I think the core puzzles, a lot of them would work just the same IRL. And again, it's the principle behind that is, I've always said that there are lots of different ways you can pick apart a puzzle and work out why it's good or bad. But there's the way I always look at it is there are only 2 outcomes for a puzzle. There's only 2 reactions. There is either when it's solved, or there is and that's it. And that's how you know if you've got a bad puzzle or a bad game or a good game. And I'm guilty of this as anybody else, but I think for designers, it's really tough when they've made a puzzle that is good, and it can be a good puzzle, but when they put it in front of players and they just go, and to not react to that. And I think a lot of the times it's not the puzzle spot, it's just a bit of signposting, or it's just a weird phrasing, and you've just got to iterate it and tweak it. And it is sad when you have to cut out a puzzle because you can't quite get to that moment when you're really happy. But I always think that a really good puzzle is, even if you didn't solve it, if someone else in your team solved a puzzle and then told you about it, or if the game master had to tell you at the end how to solve it, you still go, that all the pieces were in front of us, and I just couldn't see it, but I could have seen it. That's the essence of a good puzzle. Whereas if you go, I never would have got that. You know, it's like I say, those are the only two ways to I think to break down a puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. Errol, you look pensive.
No, I'm agreeing. Yeah, it's all good. I have lots of questions though.
I know you have lots of questions. I know.
No.
Segue.
Do you have something?
I just had to know because I think we have to talk about how you trolled in the room.
Me?
Yeah, you when you on your playthrough. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. When Nathan was mentioning people asking him to do ridiculous things.
I don't think I was the most ridiculous. Our team wasn't the most ridiculous though. I just had fun. I had lots of fun because I could talk to Nathan. The other people could solve the puzzles. It was pretty amazing.
So what did you ask him to do?
Well, this might be a spoiler.
Okay,
might not be a spoiler, but if it is a spoiler, we'll put it out. But there's a photocopy machine. Is that a spoiler?
No, yes. That's fine.
Yeah. And what do you do with photocopy machines?
Well, I apparently I don't do the same thing that you do with photocopy machine. We have different opinions on this.
Yeah, well, these are just things you photocopy when you're at a party and you want to photocopy things. Anyway, my teammates just started to gross out when I asked Agent November to photocopy different parts of his body. That's all. And then Nathan just stared to remove his clothes, and they
actually maybe we should cut this out. Yeah, no. When you word it like that, my God, man.
Yeah, you know how in a lot of jobs, like customer facing jobs, that somebody will have that works in that job will have like a customer they talk about, like they'll tell a story about the customer. Like Errol is one of my customers that I'll tell the little story about. So yeah. So well, I've got a little visual to help with this, which you might be familiar with. But yeah, I have on hand for those moments this special thing that you would have seen, which is the
pioneers. That's right. I think we got that achievement. Yeah. So this is a special one, which is whenever you do something truly unusual and weird and wonderful, never been done before, you win that one. And I think it's a great thing that I enjoy about these online games is that people are still winning that after 400 or 500 games. People are still doing new stuff, horrible, weird, reality bending stuff, and I get to bring that out and chuckle at odd things that people do. Like I said, the photocopy was one of the weirder ones. I had people ask me to take off items of clothing before, and I had to explain to them it's not that kind of online show. It's been tough in lockdown, but it's not that tough.
I didn't ask him to do it. He just volunteered to take off clothing.
Not helping, Errol, but yeah. I think that's another thing that you did that I haven't seen in an escape room, virtual or otherwise, is that you sometimes occasionally reward the players for doing something that you like by giving them an extra 15 to 30 seconds of time. Like when we complimented you, I think one time, and you were like, "Oh, that's nice," and we were like, "Oh, that's great," and it was just a great boost during the game to know that. It kind of like that.
Encourage the players to be good people, because sometimes it's just so horrible people.
Sometimes that's needed. I mean, that's a funny thing about, like I said earlier, but when you if something goes wrong in a game, it's the kind of the dumb thing to say, hey, your time is paused, or if a clue is set up wrong, you'd say, we'll give you a couple of extra minutes. There's something really psychological about people's happiness being tied to that clock. Like when you give somebody a minute, they could have wasted 30 minutes like doing nothing, but when you give them 1 minute back, it's like you are Father Christmas to them. So that's
I think that's a lesson that can be learned for a lot of people. Just giving them that extra time just makes them super happy. Somebody here wastes a lot of time on nothing. That might be me.
That might be you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's another thing. I asked you to do shadow puppets because we could see shadows. My team.
Yes.
I also nix that. Oh my goodness, my team.
But I now do that sometimes. I do, when if I've got the torch out and I'm just, if the team leaves me to my own devices for a while and I start getting bored, I'll start doing shadow puppets or something like that. So again, that's just why I love this job. It's why I love tour guiding. It's why I love this job. Is you pick up so many things and you can use that later, and you just you do the same thing over and over again. So you get a feel for what people like and what doesn't like. And again, all these things, like I was saying about a puzzle landing or not landing, that's the same with any kind of comedy routine, or if you're doing tour guiding and you want to deliver an interesting fact and it's not interesting enough, you kill your babies when it's not working, or you improve them. But if you're doing the same show over and over again, you never want to continually get that reaction of and so that's why I think it's just the absolute best thing for game designers, just to play test. I think I've never done a play test and thought, oh, I wish I'd designed for a little bit longer and written a bit more of the game before I did that play test. I've never ever thought that, but I have definitely thought, wow, I could have saved myself 2 months if I had just done a play test 2 months ago and not done half of these things, and then the other half of things I've done, I would have done them twice as good as this. And also the great thing is that you'll learn so many things in playtesting that actually are way better than you think, and you can just leave and then spend all that extra effort on something else which is much more deserving. Like when I did my original playtests for the Agent November game called Major Explosion, where you're defusing a ticking time bomb. This is in a park in London, and so yeah, that's interesting. It's an EMP device, we say now. It's a device you're trying to shut down. And I had this idea because I played a lot of escape rooms will have a screen and they beam a hint onto that, or they beam a picture onto that and you get the hint. So I had this idea, okay, I'll get like smartphone type devices for everybody. I'll put them on a strap and I'll beam out messages to them and they can read that as they're running around the park. And that's what I'll do. So I was looking into all these extra costs and designing all this software and getting the text, all that kind of stuff. When I ran my first playtest, obviously I didn't have any of that, thankfully. All I had was I borrowed a few walkie-talkies off a friend, and so people could communicate as they're going around the park, and I could send them clues. And I printed off a few photographs that I thought might come up that I could beam them to, but I just printed them off. And in the feedback, they said, we love the walkie-talkies. It felt like you were a spy. We loved it. It was great. And the photographs were great because it's like you're getting an intelligence dossier. I just thought, great. I just saved myself hundreds of pounds per game. And more importantly, all that effort I was going to spend on that, I can do loads of other stuff. And lastly, the great thing about playtesting is that players will come up with just fantastic ideas. And I always feel bad when they have a great answer to a puzzle, which isn't the right one, because I think my first escape game took me several months. I'm trying to remember now, but it feels like it was somewhere between 3 and 6 months to make my first escape game. And then plus probably a bit before that as well, just come up with a few early ideas. And then my next escape game I made in about a week or two, because somebody phoned me up and said, hey, we'd like to do 2 games at the same time, but I know you, and this is my first ever customer. My first ever customer. They said, we'd like to do 2 games at the same time, but we see you only got 1. And I said, no, I can do 2 at the same time. Oh, okay. We didn't realize that, great. And then I woke up the next day and I thought, what on earth have I done? It took me 3 months to do, 6 months to do. But the great thing is, I've then done all my play testing with this first game. And so the number of times that the customers had said, oh, maybe this is the answer. And I thought, no, it's not, but it should be. And I've just written that down. And then so I had just a massive wealth of knowledge, all these wonderful lateral thinking moves that people had made. And I just, scrambled, put those together. I guess we're learning I'm pretty motivated by deadlines, which is probably why I haven't launched my other online escape room, because I haven't got a firm deadline on that one, because we've got this one already running and it's doesn't feel quite the same urgency as when we got this one up. So anyway, what were we talking about? That was a bit of a ramble.
No, but that makes sense, and I agree. That's one of the reasons I wish I could beta test more, is because I want to find either I don't want to run into like, yeah, why isn't that the answer? That's a really good answer too. Darn it, why didn't I see that? Or not even an answer, even just a path. When they start going down a path, like, wow, that path makes total sense to go down when solving this puzzle. Oh, I should have stopped that earlier, right? And these are just things that you can't foresee because people think differently than you, which is a good thing. So anyway, totally hear you on that. Yeah.
I
So
think
have you found? Sorry, did you want to say something?
no, I think it's also an interesting question of when do you stop um, iterating the puzzles? Because I mean, the ones I've got now, I know I'm still going to keep tweaking them. I've got about 2 pages of bullet points of things I still want to change, but you can fall into a trap whenever people hit a barrier in a game, in a puzzle, and they don't get the right answer. You can fall into the trap of saying, "Oh, I should cut that out and make it clear it's not that." And after a while, it's not a puzzle anymore because you've just completely not signposted, you've just
Guidance.
railroaded them into the answer because it's frustrating to you when they're not getting the right answer. So I go back to that's why it's such a good and simple test of versus oh. So as long as you're getting that yay feeling, you can you can kind of breathe and go, okay, it's basically good enough. That's yeah.
So have things needed to change because now that your game is international, it can be played by almost anyone. Have you run into any problems with things that might be local to you, like cultural assumptions or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I don't give too many I don't give any spoilers away, but there's again it's all good flavor for trolling, but when I think I had the escape roomers play the game the other day, and I was just saying, okay, do you spell rumors? Do you spell that word? Are you spelling that with a U or the incorrect way? Things things like this. There was a lot of it's trolling the Americans because that's the friendly banter across the pond. So they wanted me to look in what we would call a bin for any clues, and I could hear them kind of because I'd been saying tap rather than faucet, and I've been saying all these other English idioms, and so I could hear them talking to amongst themselves on the Zoom chat, and they were saying, maybe we should ask them to look in the junk, like but in the in there, but what would he call it? Oh, excuse me, Agent November. Is it? Can you look in the is it the bin or the what do you call it? And I was like, trash can, and it's just like you can just get to troll people, and
I didn't know, is faucet American? Like, it's because I say tap.
Faucet.
I say faucet too, but I
a lot of people say faucet, or a flashlight rather than torch. All those little things. But the interesting one is just things like the Agent November website you have to go to get some background information and videos, things like that. And just sending people there in the UK, if you write it down and you show it to them, they will, or if you say, go to the Agent November website, they'll go to agentnovember.co.uk. And it's it's a really interesting cultural thing that Americans just will not think of .co.uk. Like every website ends .com for Americans, which is really interesting. That's like, whereas British people will think .co.uk or .com. It's just like little things that you don't pick up until you see people doing the same stuff repeatedly. Yeah.
So have you had to go super late into the night, like for example this interview, for your game?
Yeah. So to fit with the American timings, we've been doing it kind of midnight my time, some games at 2 a.m. my time. So I tend to have a late start and basically be on American timing. So because I think our first month or so, we had a massive surge in sales in terms of the UK audience, because we had our mailing list and our social media, and we basically used that up early on. And after the first month or two, almost, I'd say the big lion's share of bookings have been from America. And so we we've kind of switched over to the more international audience. But then at the same time, there are a lot of London companies with offices in Singapore or Hong Kong. So we've connected with some of those. And we actually ran a few specific times for the Australian audience, because we, at the start of this year, I cannot believe it was a year ago. It was either this year or 10 years ago that I was in Australia for the Adelaide Fringe. And so I was on I remember I was on a Skype or a Zoom call. Yeah, Skype, because we hadn't even done Zoom by that point, I think, in January, February. I was on a Zoom call with the team back in the UK, and they were saying, dude, like no one over here will accept flyers. They think they're icky. Like, you know, this isn't good. Like, this is going to be a thing. And so I remember when I was in Australia, we just said, okay, could I make an escape room in my bedroom? And on the plane on the way back over, as I was flying in, I was kind of, you know, sketching ideas in the back of a napkin. And then it was just a pure scramble to get all the stuff out of the storage that I needed for this, chuck all my stuff into storage. And kind of as I got the last shipment of stuff into my house, we went into lockdown. So like, okay, this is going to be kind of in for the long haul now. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're getting a lot of players from North America, which is great. Is a lot of that word of mouth then, you know, because most of your mailing list was in the UK, but
yeah, well, I think what happened was we got onto a few of the reviewer websites, and we just got 4 or 5 really solidly good reviews, and the audience for those review sites is more Americans, and so that just really put us in the consciousness there. So that was really surprising. We kind of really didn't expect that, because like I say, we were suddenly tapping into a new scene, the international scene, which mainly translates to the American scene. And that's where suddenly, I noticed all the accents were suddenly American. So yeah. I will say, it doesn't happen all that often, but there was one really nice day that stands out, because it was a Saturday, so I had 6 games booked in, which I don't always get 6 games booked in, but it was a decent Saturday. And I had a game in Australia, and then Hong Kong or Singapore, I think it was 2. And then we had a couple of games in the UK, and then I think maybe we had 1 or 2 out in America. And so I felt like I was just moving over the world with the time zones as the sun went past, it was a really surreal, serene feeling that they've all these different countries that just zoomed into my little bedroom in London that one day. It's weird.
Nice.
And now you have the ability to scale, because you've outsourced the game to other houses. That's really cool.
You're still like
yeah. So now what will happen is I will get to stay in bed as on my Saturday, as other people are zooming into those, which is even better and more serene in many ways. So that's nice. Yeah.
You can find somebody in the States to do it. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, cool. And you also got nominated for a TERPECA. I almost said it incorrectly again. Sorry, Rich.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the correct way to say it, so I wouldn't call you up. No, it's that was very exciting. Yeah, that's lovely. So we're in the top 25 online escape rooms in the world. We've been shortlisted as, and I've counted the list. I think there are a total of 6 or 7 UK-based online escape rooms in that list. Finalists to be announced this month, and as they say, it's just an incredible honor just to be nominated. That's I've got to give props to my team, especially Alan and Abby, who have been working with me on this, but also people who've been working with me in the past, like Jack Bowman, Sophie Cairns, Charlene Peck. These aren't people that you know, and Joanne Surley. These aren't people you know, but they'll if they don't get credit, that's not fair, because I have loved working with them, because they bring such an unusual, different perspective, and that's what's great, is that I can be beating my head on a puzzle for a whole week trying to work out how to do it, and then someone will look at it in a completely different way, and it just blows my mind that they would have looked at it that way. But that's what it's like when you solve an escape room, is that someone comes and solves a bit of a puzzle that you never thought you did. that could be solved that way, in the same way people, like for example, Alan, he's much more of a numbers guy than me. And so I always hate it when he goes and puts numbers in my escape room, like maths and stuff. Yeah, horrible. And he will send me puzzles like he's come up with, and then I have to solve them, and I hate that because I like being the one with the answers. And that's the thing, is people like, I do this for a job, and people always say like, well, you know, we'll do this thing. You're going to be great at this, Nathan, because you do use. I'm like, I'm good at running them. Like I look really knowledgeable because I made the answers. I've got them on a sheet. Like, I'm not a genius. That's my special formula for winning. Like, be the quiz master. You never lose. So yeah, I do get unrealistically high expectations are placed on me because I somehow look like I know all the answers.
I could give a spoiler about the TERPECAs. Ooh, which one?
What?
Okay.
What is that? What spoiler?
Oh, the show, the award show. It's going to be on the 19th of December.
Okay. That's. I'm like, you're not gonna leak winners,
No,
are you?
I'm not going to leak winners. I don't know them. Richard keeps those under lock and key. I'm not even
As he
allowed to
should.
know the winners.
Yeah, because you're like the worst at spoiling
What do
escape
you
room
want? I won't
news.
spoil the winners.
Oh, look at our community meetups. No, I'm not saying about winners. I'm just talking about in general. You've spoiled some other things too in the past. That was I not supposed to say anything? No.
Yeah, watch. I'm probably not supposed to leak that it's going to be on the 19th.
I think you gotta get excitement building now for that.
Yeah.
So
No, I
yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
that's different. That's like this is marketing now.
Mhm,
So yeah.
mhm.
I was going to wonder. I was wondering if I could actually mention something that's coming up even sooner than that, just 2 days time. I'd love to talk about Mystery at the Museum, the event that is going on Friday, the 4th of December.
Now, technically, that will be today because that's when this video is going to be released, right?
Right. What time is this going out in GMT?
It's in GMT time. It's going to be probably around. What time do you usually release it, Errol? In the morning?
Well, I could try to release it in the morning, our time. So,
that
would be about like 1 p.m. your time.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I mean, because otherwise it'll be like rubbing it in because like everyone will have missed it.
So it's like going to be in about maybe a couple of hours.
6 hours. 6 hours. You got 6 hours, everybody. Okay. Actually, no, 5 hours now, because by the time you get to this point in the video, although you can mention it in the description too. That's another.
I'm going to make this easy for you editing, okay? Right, guys, this event starts in 1 hour. This event starts in 2 hours. This event starts in 3 hours. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. So, you've probably got enough there. You can.
Yeah. We'll cut it all together.
Mind you, it all depends when they watch it too. So
we'll have to have different versions.
Adventure. What time is it for you now?
Yeah, that can be an extra puzzle. Yeah, work out when it's going to start. Yeah.
So please tell us. I know I've got a ticket for it now. But please do tell us about. Was it the something at the museum?
Mystery at the Museum.
Yes.
Like all the best things in the world. A little bit of alliteration. So it's Oxford University Museum of Natural History, which is a fantastic building. It just in and of itself was built classic Victorian style in 1860. And it has these amazing exhibits inside, like casts and bones of dinosaurs, right down to tiny creepy crawlies that you can't actually see, but you just have to believe that they're there because some squatchy writing is saying that they're on the card. I mean, literally millions of exhibits in this place. And I mean, I'm not very good at talking about them because I don't have a science background. But luckily, I'm not hosting this event. It's going to be hosted by my brother-in-law, Steve Backshaw.
Ooh.
And Steve is, I think he's bigger in the UK, but he is a kids TV presenter and a general TV presenter as well for grown-ups too. And he goes off on amazing expeditions around the world. And he talks about wildlife, but also his bit of an adventure. He goes kayaking, climbing through these amazing climates. He's just, I mean, every time I see him, when I see him, he'll be just back from seeing bears in Russia, and then he's back home for 1 week, and then he's off looking for sharks just off the English coast. You know,
Wow.
real example. I think the last time I saw him, that was the state that he was in, the limbo between the sharks and the bears. So he has got a fantastic connection with the museum. He's worked with them in the past, and you can walk into any room in there, and he will know. He can give you the Latin name and the genus and the hilarious and disgusting fact about every single thing in that room. And so he really put together this idea of using my kind of online escape room knowledge and the museum's wonderful resources, and those 3 planets kind of aligned, and we now have this Mystery at the Museum event. And so it's going to be Steve is going to present this. He's the host, and he'll be dashing around the museum solving escape room type puzzles. So myself and my team and the museum have put together these puzzles using their exhibits, and it's going to be all about the natural world. And I'm always reticent about saying too much, but there's a flavor of it. He's going to solve a mystery.
There's not going to be any photocopiers.
Yes, no, this is very much a family-friendly show. I might have to. Errol, do you have a ticket?
Well, no, it's during work, so I can't go.
I'm totally skipping out on work, just saying. Yeah.
I have meetings all the way through on Friday, so
I'm an hourly employee now, so I just won't work that hour, and I just won't get paid for it. That's all.
I can't just skip out on meetings. Why are you going? And then what will happen? I'll just get a bing, bing, bing. It's like, where are you? Nowhere. Oh, I'm home. But anyway, it's hard.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear. But it's going to be, we're expecting thousands of people to take part online, and they'll be feeding answers and suggestions into Steve. Obviously, he can only take so many, but he's going to be managing that. And I'm going to be, the plan is me to be backstage, kind of radioing him in answers and helping him with the audience interaction. But
so if there are 1,000 people, sorry, what tech are you using in the back end to pick up all the answers?
It's going to be quite straightforward. So it'll just be people can type in chat answers, and then I'll be kind of reading through for answers to give to Steve and kind of filtering that to him to act on.
Wow.
So
you're
it's
the conduit. You are the conduit through which all answers flow. Wow.
Yeah, I've got to be respectful and not tell him to do too many trolley things, because he's relying on me to make him look good, and I'm not going to stitch him up. So yeah, I think the thing is that it's got such a great setting and such a great host. So I mean, just that on its own, it almost doesn't need me, because Steve would wander around that place for an hour, and he'd captivate you on his own. And we just thought it would be a really fun way to, because we made this under lockdown when people couldn't go to the museum, although the museum will be opening this coming Saturday right after the event. But it was a way of getting people to interact with the museum in just a bit of an unusual way. Yeah. Oh, and sorry, just one other thing I should say is that this is to support the work of the museum. So it's a free event. You can just watch and play for free, but any donations you want to make will go to what's called the Hope for the Future Foundation. And that is a fantastic opportunity to fund the museum's work and kind of support future research at the museum.
Yep, and they make it very easy on the website to do that. So you'll see the $0 option, but do try to choose the $0 plus a donation option.
Well,
that is
cool.
There. Yeah.
This gives me ideas. You could do like Agent November in location, have your own Twitch stream. People can chat you things while you're like, I don't know, in Australia. Oh, there you go. You can go traveling around the world when there's no COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all making plans for when there's no COVID. So yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Man Pants. I will let you go, and we'll let you two go as well. Nathan, thank you so much on this short notice. Although, what, Man Pants?
Was there anything else you would like to mention at all or bring up before we go, Nathan?
I guess just the obvious stuff is that feel free to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are Agent November on all of those, and the website obviously is agentnovember.co.uk. We've got our online escape room with another online escape room coming end of this year, start of next year, and then 3 more on the way. And don't forget to go to the Mystery at the Museum in 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, depending on where you hear this, or it's over, you missed it. It was brilliant. You totally missed out. And to get tickets for the Oxford University Museum event, then go to the University of Oxford Natural History Museum website.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As Errol was saying, it's been awesome to hear about your process, and we loved playing Agent November, and so good luck at the TERPECAs. I said it right. There we go. And break legs with the museum game. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see it either. It's been absolutely a pleasure talking. It's really sad, but I feel like often I don't get to think about the process, because the time I'm doing it and actually making stuff, it's always the most stressful time, because that's when you're worried about the deadline and getting things together. But it should be the best bit of the job, because you find this is why you want to do this, is to make these great ideas before we stress because something's coming up. So it's lovely to just get to sit down and talk. I was going to say just us, but obviously many more people hear this, but
exactly.
Either way, thanks so much for chatting. It's been fun.
Great. All right, I will talk us out, Errol. Room Escape Divas is brought to you by Inverse Genius. You can go to inversegenius.com to find other fun podcasts just like this one.
We both have ring lights.
We have ring lights now. Yes, it's an exciting time. If I were to turn it off, it looks super ugly now. Look at that. You can email us at roomescapedivas@gmail.com. Love getting the emails, and we do try to answer them. Sorry if we haven't lately.
There's one email thread that we're doing, and I think there's like a month in between replies.
Yeah.
Evan and we only respond a month later to each other's email.
Yeah,
sorry,
poor
Evan.
Evan. Sorry, Evan. If you go to the Facebook page, you can click the like button on the Room Escape Divas Facebook page. We have community meetups every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are on Twitter, you can use the hashtag REDivas. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.